Hey, it's JC1424 once again with another album review, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2018 album Evolution from the mainstream metal artist Disturbed. Their previous album was immortalized in 2015, which had a couple singles that are very memorable for me. Hand of God and their very famous cover of The Sound of Silence, which is probably one of their top 5 most played songs on YouTube at this point. And well, aside from that, there was a bonus track that I really liked called Tyrant. I don't know how many of you guys are actually familiar with that one, unless you had like the deluxe edition or something, a big fan of Disturbed. That album was kind of the same rinse and repeat that we've gotten from Disturbed in the past 10 years. And then before that, we had, actual metal music, that just freaking large anthems like 10,000 Fists, and they came from the new metal scene with their big hit single that really became famous with them, which was Down with the Sickness. We all know that one at this point. But yeah, like I said, aside from that, they haven't really tried anything new musically. But with this one, they're going for some electronics and a more musical aspect in terms of variety. So is it going to make or break this album? Is it probably going to make it one more memorable for Disturbed just because it's so different from other ones that they've done? But, we've got some high points and some low points on here with what they're trying, and that's what we're talking about today. The lead single is Are You Ready? And that is the opening track on this album. Right off the bat, I can tell you it's a very edgy and basic song, but it did grow on me by being musical and having a lot of energy to it. It's just, I shouldn't be surprised at this point that it is the same cheap but also catchy radio single formula that all artists go with whenever they're going to be announcing a new album. This one has that really cool bridge, and the intro is pretty awesome, and it's an intense song for what it is, but the song has its way of saying that we're about to do something amazing. It's all suspenseful, but nothing actually happens lyrically. It's just a great song, and it's meant to start off this album. But if you set the whole album aside and just listen to this, it feels like the song is just very suspenseful for no reason. Track number 2 on this album is No More. This is a song in 4/4 time signature, but written in thirds, very much like Feel Invincible by Skillet from their 2016 album, Unleashed. That was the lead single back then, by the way. The big question here is which one I like more, just because they're so similar. And first off, Disturbed is a metal artist that's trying some electronics in there. Then you've got Skillet, a Christian rock band, an alternative rock band at that has more electronics, of course. But with that song, it was more sonic and anthemic, and it just had more of a musical style to it. While it was very cheap because it had no admirable theme to it. It's just like, hey, we're strong and we can face anything, but it doesn't really talk about facing anything to begin with. This song has that admirable theme to it, about not putting up with the government's bullshit anymore, not taking their lies and excuses for things. We all know that political style. So, I like Skillet's more just because of its musical fashion, but if you're more into the concept behind the song, then you'd probably like this one more. And maybe just because it's not alternative rock, even though it's almost there at this point. But this song, musically, the only thing I can say I remember about it is like after the chorus, every time there's this cool guitar sound that I like. I like how it finishes off the chorus. And aside from that, that's all I have going for it here. Disturbed's follow-up to their lead single, A Reason to Fight, is track 3 on this album. This is a metal ballad, of course, with some very beautiful vocal work, if I do say so myself. But what really tears it for me is the overuse of lyrical cliche, with phrases like, I won't give up, I won't give in. And then in the chorus he says, when your demons are ready to begin, which is kind of an unfinished statement that doesn't actually make sense, at least in my opinion it doesn't. And they just leave a dry taste in my mouth. But aside from that, musically it does have its builds and its energy in the chorus and stuff like that. But it reminds me of like Five Finger Death Punch, their cover of The Offspring's Gone Away, which was very creative with how they added lots of guitar in there, and like the first chorus was soft, but the second one was just so much more powerful. It was building up a lot more, and I feel like Disturbed should be able to do that in an original song even better than Five Finger Death Punch, or at least get to that level. But this song, I think it has something going for it with ideas of internal conflict, and then, trying not to commit suicide and fighting yourself, or trying to get over a drug addiction. But really, like, at this point, I feel like the album continues to fall off at every song. But after this, we have my favorite song on the album. When the demon that's inside you is ready to begin, and it feels like it's a battle that you will never win. as I was just saying, the fourth song on this album, In Another Time, is my favorite, and it gets my attention the very first time listening to it, and it does every time. And the main reason why is because that intro and chorus melody comes in a completely different key than what you get in the verses, with the guitar of having this mysterious attitude. It's just negative and aggressive, and then it just completely converts and transitions into something with a sincere and more enlightening mood to it. It's got this awesome concept at the same time that makes it even more appealing to me personally, because it's something that I can relate to, how I've kind of disconnected myself from technology in the past year. You know, just, I guess being in a relationship or something changes everything and make me want to spend more time with somebody that I don't get to spend that much time with in my day. But this is a singer singing about wishing that we could go back to a time whenever technology and being on the internet wasn't so much of a big deal, in which we had more important things to focus on, but we just don't. And like evolution through the generations has become less satisfying for people that didn't have that stuff back in the day. And then towards the end of the song, it becomes a question, as if there's no solution to this problem. Like if we just lost all our technology, we wouldn't even react to that environment properly. But yeah, those two things combined, the musical aspect of things and the awesome concept, they really do make it that much more redeemable. And most people consider this one of their favorite songs on the album.
You stumble in, still holding it. You move like an electric zombie. Barely noticing as your life keeps passing you by.
And just like that, we go from track 4, my favorite song on the entire album, to track 5, Stronger on Your Own, my least favorite on the album. I don't know, like that's kind of ridiculous, because the first 3 tracks, it felt like it was going downhill for me personally in terms of satisfaction. And then track 4 came around, and it's like, wham, this is so awesome, and yeah, I love this, and then we're right back where we left off with this track. But what really frustrates me with this song is how freaking slow it is. It's like 60 beats per minute almost, or something, and I want it to be like at least 20% faster, but it just comes off so dragging and sludgy. And I understand they're trying to have some differentiation between tracks and, you know, different musicality, but this just seems to hurt the song. Like it needs to be faster for it to be something worth listening to or passable. And yeah, just for that reason, the melodies, they seem to have this same contrast as the last song, but not key-wise, more just melodically. One being aggressive and then the next being sincere whenever you get to that chorus. And even then, poetically, it becomes quite generic, using the word realize for probably the 3rd time on the entire album. It's part of evolution, but the title says it all, and it's just, this whole song just seems unnecessary.
So if you're able to survive until you find yourself alone.
Things are picking back up again as we get to the 6th song on this album, Hold On to Memories, which is basically this sad alternative to Photograph by Nickelback. It's like, look at this photograph, every time I do it makes me cry. And the only thing that's really sad about this song is the fact that I like Photograph by Nickelback more. But anyways, this is an acoustic ballad. It's very beautiful in its vocals. It's got a really good bridge with an awesome solo that I like. It's trying way too hard to make me cry, if I'm being honest. And it's not exactly amazing, but it's nice, and I would say it's passable.
Make the most of the rest of your life. Make a ride of this world while you can.
Track number 7, Saviour of Nothing, is another one of my favorites on this album. One of the main reasons why is because the guitar work here really links everything together perfectly, in my opinion. I love the sincere and anthemic style that they go for in the chorus, but at the same time, I don't feel like the song really gets there sonically. At the beginning, it's certainly there, but it just doesn't have enough room to build up through the verses into the chorus again, with volume and like a silence, maybe just a big space for dramatic pauses of some sort. It's just not really there. But also, one thing I've heard from people commenting about the song, like on the video whenever it came out, is that they love the guitar solo that they have during the bridge. And while I have noted that, I like that guitar solo once I've really observed it quite a bit. My favorite part of this entire song, one of my favorite parts on the album, is that transition from the second chorus into the bridge with them awesome rolling drums. And this is a song with a concept that I'm sure some people can relate to, is like even Shined out with their new album, that this reminds me of that concept that they went with, is, you know, having the world change you into somebody that you don't want to be, and despising yourself and wishing you could fix yourself. Like you've become something that you were fighting all along in the world that you just didn't appreciate.
You're the savior of nothing now.
Track 8, Watch You Burn, is, in my opinion, the weirdest song on the entire album. First off, it sounds absolutely nothing like its title. You see Watch You Burn and your first thought is, this is going to be an angry, aggressive metal song, but no, it's some grungy collective soul sounding shit. It's got this bittersweet mood and attitude with the acoustics. While it does have the energy in the chorus and it builds itself up a little bit, establishes itself, it just comes off so weird. And then you get to the interlude, which is focused on this short staccato violin. I mean, they repeat that and it feels unnecessary. That's one of the main flaws here, in my opinion, is that it gets a little redundant whenever they do the same thing twice. But even that is just so off-putting. And I get the main idea here is someone who wants to set you up for failure, raise you up just to watch you fall. I guess the song is like a circus act.
When your world goes dark, can't hide it. They'll just smile and watch you burn.
Getting closer to the end of the album, track 9 is The Best Ones Lie. This came out like a week before the album's release, I think as like a third single, and it is very similar to track 2 on the album, No More. The idea in mind is very similar, but with this one, it seems to have a more broad perspective. Like that one was about just like our country, and this one is about like the world in a whole. While at the same time, the lyrics for the song are legitimately a pile of I don't give a fuck. Not that I have a problem with that, that's just what it is. With this song, what really takes away from me personally is how the guitar riff and the lyrical presentation, they really collide, and they're doing the exact same thing. Whenever the guitar is playing at the same rhythm and tone of the lyrics and how they're being sung, it just gets stale in my opinion. I don't like whenever songs do that, so it makes it less enjoyable. While I do like the chorus a little bit, I like how it changes things up and it kind of descends. It's really cool, but it's just I don't like that part of the song that much. Now, my favorite part of this song is the bridge. It's probably like the greatest one on the entire album, how the drums and the raw sounding guitar, they really mesh together on this song, and that's something that's really noble for me. The final track on the standard edition of this album is track 10, Already Gone. This is, in my opinion, the best acoustic track on the album by far. It has so much emotion driving it. It's got this instrumentation that is very relaxing but also expressive at the same time. The lyrics are not at all bad, they're just very easy to understand. And the meaning here is that the time whenever we actually realize that we've lost someone, and whenever it finally actually hits us, it's comparing that to whenever we're first taking it in and how different it is. Like for the first time, we can't believe it and it hurts, but comparing that to whenever we're sad but we're happy that the relationship between these two people actually happened and it's resolving. And for that reason, it's something I can really relate to. Many of us can. And while it's not that complex, I didn't really catch on to it that quickly. After a few listens, this became my second favorite song on the entire album. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch and listen to me talk about this new Disturbed album with every track individually. I really appreciate it. And my final score for the new album Evolution, released on October 19th, 2018, is an 81%. That's not very far off from the scores I gave to the new Shinedown or A Perfect Circle albums, but there is a big difference between how those scores came around and how I feel about them. I'm definitely returning to Shinedown and A Perfect Circle's new albums just because of how much more they had to offer conceptually or in terms of musical creativity. Maybe it didn't always work and they had their ups and downs, and this one, I feel like it has less ups and downs, but it's kind of like a standard rinse and repeat, just like the other albums that they've made. But it is slightly different from other Disturbed albums just because of, going for some electronics in there and a little more musical aspect, like I'm trying to say. Like the lyrics, they were still very basic and in some places flat out cheap, but yeah, through all the hard rocking tracks and ballads, I liked some and then others was just kind of eh. I'm sure some of you guys got access to the deluxe edition of this album, which came with 2 bonus tracks that were already previously released. Aside from that, they had some live performances on there of older songs, but track 12 on the deluxe edition is titled This Venom. It comes off a bit discouraging because it's about this character, I guess, just had a lot of faith and was really brave, but then they wound up defeated. It reminds me of Failure or Defeated by Breaking Benjamin. But, I guess the thought in mind is just dealing with defeat in some way. And it's basically a standard rock track. Could have easily replaced something that I didn't like that much on the actual album. But what's really redeemable about it is that it has these really good drums throughout the verses. That's something I do remember about that song. But track 14 is Uninvited Guests, and that's the one that really got my attention. it was surprisingly dramatic in the instrumentation. It really does pack a punch and have a lot of emotion and passion whenever you get to the chorus of that song. Same time, I feel like it doesn't have a good enough running time. It doesn't really continue to build up to anything else after reaching its peak, which does disappoint me a little bit, but it's still a great song. Has lots of good singing, and the theme behind that one, the true meaning, is about feeling haunted by someone that you've lost, and you're just wishing that they wouldn't be there anymore. Like, you miss them, and you always think about the memories that you've made with this person, but now they continue to haunt you, and you just wish the emotions wouldn't be there anymore because it just hurts you at that point. And that's something that I can relate to, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys can. But, I mean, if those two songs were on the album, it would only increase the score by like maybe 1%, bring it to an 82% score. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the new Disturbed album, Evolution. Thanks for watching. See you next time. That's that. And album review over.
Is she already